Aloha and welcome to segment 12 of our Adobe Premiere tutorials. Today we're going to continue looking at special effects. In this case we're going to focus on visual effects, but the concepts that we explore here apply to the way audio effects work as well. So last video we talked a lot about what's hiding in the Effect Controls tab, and that's going to stay critical in this video, but now we're going to add effects to what's already there. So again, just looking at this random clip I've got here in the middle of my Scott project, I'm going to try to add some video effects to that. So if you look down here in this bottom left-hand corner, and this is the same thing that we did to find our transitions, we're going to go to the Effects tab. So if you look over here, you'll see that we have categories of effects, including the next to the last one, Video Effects. So if I open that little triangle, you'll see that there are, again, categories of video effects. Adjustment, blur, channel color correction, etc. Some of these, again, are self-explanatory. Some of them are not. But again, just play and see what happens. So maybe, for example, I want to blur this. Perhaps this is a... I don't know why I'd want to blur it, but we'll just use that for an example. So I'm going to open this Blur and Sharpen folder. Click the little arrow beside it. And I've got some choices here of blurs and sharpening and whatnot. I'm going to grab this Gaussian blur, just because it's something I'm familiar with. And what I'm going to do is click and drag it over here onto the clip. Now before I do that, just for purposes of the video, I want to close up all of the tabs in my video effects here as much as I can. Just free up as much space. All right, so you notice I've got the Effect Controls tab selected here. I have my video selected. And as before, I've got my video effects, I've got my audio 1 and my audio 2 effects that are all inherent to the clip. Now I'm going to grab this Gaussian blur, I'm going to click and drag that icon and drop it on top of the clip in the timeline. So click, drag, and you see that it kind of highlights the highlight. It was highlighted in white, now it's highlighted in black, so I know that I'm on the right spot, and I'm going to turn it loose. And when I do this, watch what happens in the Effect Control tab in the top left-hand corner. Okay, here we go. It added this Gaussian blur category that wasn't there a second ago. Right? Now, if you looked at the video when I dropped it on, nothing seems to have happened. And I can actually confirm that. If I go to this little FX button right beside the label Gaussian blur, I can turn the effect on and off. And if you're staring at the video, you'll see that, no, it really doesn't look any different. Okay, because I haven't done anything yet. This has got options in it. And the option that I need to play with here is blurriness. And just like any other time, I've got a numeric fader that I could click in and type a number, or I could click and drag with the mouse. Or in this case, I can open this little triangle and there's a slider. Now, as I drag this to the right, look at what happens to my video. It gets blurry. Go figure, something that's called blur makes the video blurry. So I can actually make this video blurry. Now, maybe I don't need to make the whole video blurry, but maybe Scott's in the witness protection program and I need to hide his face. Notice that I also have these masking tools here, the same ones that were under opacity. So in this case, I could make a circular mask, an elliptical mask. So if I click on that, you'll see a mask pops up, and inside the mask is the blur. And then I can just click and drag to reposition that blur over his face. And you'll notice there's also an option down here to invert it. So I could actually blur the entire video except for his face. All right, let's play this.
We use a fine grind of coffee here, and it just lets the flavor through, and we're not going to get a bunch of
All right, so now I've added one effect, and this effect has got options that I can play with. But I'm not done here. So maybe I want to change this thing so that it all looks, oh, I don't know. Let's see what we can come up with here. Oh, we're going to turn the whole thing to black and white. So here under Image Control, there's a filter for black and white, an effect for black and white. So I'm going to click and drag that onto the same clip and watch what happens. Keep your eye on the effect controls in the top left-hand corner. Black and white appeared. Now this doesn't have any controls, although I could, put it in part of the screen by using these masks, but I can turn it on and off. And now that I have black and whiteified it, let's see what else what weirdness I could do. Maybe let's look at this perspective one. Nope. Transform maybe? Here, horizontal flip. I can change left to right and right to left, so I'll just click and drag that over there. Now notice that every time I add an effect, it's appearing over here. So here's my Gaussian blur, here's my black and white, here's my horizontal flip. And sometimes the order matters. If that's the case, I can click and drag up or down to reorder these things. In this case, nothing I've done matters what order it's in. Let's see what else we can do here. How about we add some brush strokes to it? Ooh, that sounds fun. All right. Notice brush strokes. I've got a lot of options to play with here. My stroke angle, my brush size, the length of the stroke, the densities of the stroke. Make my strokes longer. Maybe not that long. I'm going to make them denser. Let's see what that does. I'm going to make them more random. Maybe I'll blend it a little bit with the original image. Too much. That's not working for me. So I can just keep stacking these things. So if I want to just disable something so I can look at it without it being on, all I have to do is click the effects button beside it. So if I decide, what does this look like without the black and white? All right, so just click that effects button. The black and white goes away. My computer's lagging a little bit. I'm asking a lot of it to record this at the same time it's processing. But there we go. That's what it would look like. Ooh, I like that much better. If I want to get rid of an effect, since I'm not going to use that black and white, I could just leave it turned off, but I can also select it, just single click on it, and then hit the delete key on my keyboard, and it goes away. So there we go. I have taken that video, I have made it blurry, I have flipped it horizontally, and I have added the brush strokes to it. You know what? With the brush strokes on there, maybe I don't even need the blur. Let's turn the blur off and see if that changes anything. Can I recognize him? Would this make him happy since he's in witness protection? Nah, I think I'll leave it there. I'll turn it back on. Okay. So adding effects is really quite easy. It's just a matter of coming over into the Effect tab in the bottom left-hand corner, finding the effect you want, and dragging it onto the clip that you're going to use. And if you know the name of the effect, you can actually search for it. You've watched me go into a couple of these folders looking for something, but I can actually go in the search window here. If I know there's an effect called flip, I can just type flip, and it will open up everything. So there's my horizontal flip, there's my vertical flip, and there's another one, flip over in 3D motion. I don't know what that does. If I wanted to look for the black and white, let me just type black. Yep, we got a whole bunch of those, so I'm going to type white. And there we go. Image control, black and white. So adding an effect or adding several effects is relatively easy. You find the effect you want over here in the Effect library, or the Effect tab of the bottom left-hand pane there. You drag it onto the clip, and then you make changes to it by single-clicking the clip, and then going to the Effect Control tab in that top left-hand window. And you can see the effects that are there. There's my blur. There's my horizontal flip. There are my brush strokes. I can disable them if I want to just take a look at what it would be like without it. Let me turn off the horizontal flip there, for example. If I want to get rid of them, I can simply click on them and then hit the delete key on the keyboard. And if I want to rearrange them, I can click and slide so that now the brush strokes comes before the blur. In this particular case, it doesn't matter, but there are times, especially when you're dealing with color correction, that the sequence is important. So let's look at one of those real quickly, just because I mentioned it. So if I were to grab a video effect and let's grab tint. And what tint will allow me to do is I'm going to change my black values and make them red. And I'm going to change my white values and make them blue, because why not? All right. Ooh, that's a neat sci-fi effect. And now that I've got a neat sci-fi effect, I'm going to find my black and white filter. I keep saying filter. Filter is actually a term from Final Cut Pro. I'm going to find my black and white effect and drag it on there. And that just looks awful. What happened? This is a case where order is going to matter. I spent time getting the colors the exact way I wanted them, and then I turned it all to black and white. Maybe it would have been smarter to turn it around. So if I had made it black and white first, and then added the colors, now that looks like what I wanted it to look like. So sometimes the order matters. All right. I think that's enough about effects for now. I will come back to this. We'll do a video just for doing green screens, and we'll do a video just for doing cloning. And both of those are going to take advantage of some of these effects that we're talking about here and manipulate them. But that's for later.